Hello and welcome to Phoenix Health and Safety's guidance to the Environmental Aspects and Impacts Assessment Practical Examination. This is your pathway to success. We are going to outline the process from start to finish. On the day that your exam begins, you will receive an email which will contain the official assessment template. This is the only template you should use to conduct your assessment. You will have 10 working days, and the email will detail the final date and time you can submit your assessment. You will first read the guidance document produced by NEBOSH. You may want to refer to this guidance document throughout your studies, as it will detail the criteria you need to include to pass. And please also have a look through the NEBOSH example assessment. This will demonstrate the basic information that you need to provide within your examination, as well as how it should be laid out. The assessment you produce must be conducted within a workplace environment. If you do not have a workplace, you may volunteer within a local business or a family or friend's owned business. Please remember throughout this process that this assessment should be able to be read by someone who has no environmental management experience. This will help you detail specific requirements simply to ensure that a person receiving this document is able to complete actions that they fully understand. Within this assessment, a visual inspection of the workplace will take place. You'll identify environmental aspects and impacts, look at existing measures, and formulate significance ratings with your justifications. You'll also recommend additional measures and how you intend to communicate them and how they will be reviewed. Once you have completed and submitted your examination, you will receive your results within 50 working days of submission. When you receive your result, you will be awarded either a pass or a refer. Within 48 hours of receiving your result, you shall also receive examiner's feedback. This document will detail each section you have covered within this assessment. It will demonstrate to you which requirements of this assessment you have met. If you have not met a requirement, the examiner explains why in the comment section. When you are ready to begin, ensure your name, surname, and learner number are placed in the footer section within your assessment. This information can also be used when naming and saving a copy of this examination. This examination is split into 4 parts. Part 1, Introduction to the Organisation and Methodology Used. Part 2, Identifying Environmental Aspects, Associated Impacts and Existing Measures. Part 3, Significant Aspects, Key Issues and Recommended Additional Measures. And Part 4, Communication and Review. The first section is split into 2 parts, the introduction to the organization and the methodology. The introduction requires you to detail the organization's name, location, and number of workers. It also asks you to include the area or process that has been assessed. The methodology section of Part 1 requires you to detail the sources of information used, who was spoken to during the assessment, and how additional control measures were identified. In Part 2, you are expected to detail a minimum of 4 activities, products, or services. From the 4, you will be expected to identify at least 10 environmental aspects. Within each aspect, you must ensure that you cover at least 2 of the following conditions: normal, abnormal, incidents, accidents, or potential emergency situations. Each aspect will need to demonstrate 1 or more impacts. It must also detail what control measures are already in place. And finally, to complete Part 2, each aspect must be provided with a significance rating and should include how the significance table has been used to generate this rating. Part 3 requires you to choose 3 significant aspects and explain why each aspect is a key issue and recommend additional control measures. Finally, you must review the assessment. Within this section, you are required to detail when this assessment will be reviewed and recommend a specific person to review this. Please note that this assessment does not have a word limit. This should encourage you to be as descriptive as you possibly can while still being concise enough for the examiner to identify where you have met the criteria. Finally, we wish you all the very best of luck with your examination.